All right, guys, we are live. So I am Latanya Sumter. I am the founder of Empowered Wellbeing, and we are so happy to have you here this morning. The purpose is because we wanted to start really sharing and bringing more awareness in regards to holistic health and wellness. We have a great lineup of speakers today. I'm so honored and thankful that they were able to join us. And we're just going to do a quick, brief introduction. So, of course, I am Latanya. I am a certified 300-hour yoga instructor, integrative holistic wellness. My mission is to really women grow, heal, and flourish and become one within themselves. I believe deeply rooted in doing the inner work first, and then it exudes on the outside, right? Because it helps us to become a better people, and also being able to pinpoint some of the things that may be going on internally that we're just not aware of. So getting to the root cause that may be creating some of the imbalances within us emotionally, mentally. So that is my snap. I am going to kick it right on over to Kenny and let Kenny introduce herself.
What's going on, everyone? Kenneth Sessions here. I roll with Team Alter Ego. And one of the things that I find myself doing nowadays is helping people get to become a better version of themselves. Now, I am an online health and wellness coach, but I will do some in person as well, depending on the situation. I am a husband, father of three. I wear multiple hats. The main thing that I want to do is make sure I help people get to a space where they can transform their lives to make that image that's in the mirror match the image that's in their head. And we can do this with awareness, with knowledge, with guidance. All right. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And we're going to make things happen for you.
All right, Lanisha, go right on ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lenisha, and I am the founder of Speak to Me Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the equality, education, independence, and wellness for BIPOC women in Hillsborough County. I love to say that, there's a fine line between enabling and empowering someone, and we walk that line every day. So if you are a woman of color in Hillsborough County and you have no one that you can talk to, you can speak to me.
Hey, Nara, you want me to come back to you or are you ready to go?
I'm ready. I'm sorry. I was having difficulties.
It's okay, friend. It's okay. All right. So go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, hi. I'm Nara Fitzgerald. I am a mental health therapist in the Pinellas County and Hillsborough County area. I am a PhD student and a mental health advocate. Everything mental health is just my passion. And so, there's a stigma within the community. And so I'm just really working to help to destigmatize mental health. So that's a little about me.
All right, Terrence, and then Sheena.
Awesome. My name is Terrence Pennington. Like Kenneth, wear a lot of hats. My background is football, former NFL player. What I do now today is one, of course, I'm an ordained minister also. So for my program, I connect the word with fitness. My program is called Face It to Fix It because for me growing up, I struggle to face a lot of things that I struggle with. And I had a lot of unhealthy ways of dealing with it, which is numbing. So a lot of my struggles with, alcohol, pornography, and things like that. So I work with men, mostly men that have to lose 50, 100 pounds, and they have those type of struggles with identity, purpose, and also, of course, a weight loss author. So I just really love helping people and mixing with the word, mental, and physical fitness together.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you all today. I am Sheena De Leon. I am an NASM certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. I specialize in weight loss and weight training, strength training, resistance training, whatever you like to call it. My business is Of the Lion Fitness. I pretty much help people, mainly women, reach their fitness goals or get over whatever barriers they may have that they perceive are keeping them from those goals. I started my journey about 12 years ago after I had my oldest son. I really just didn't like what I saw in the mirror, and I didn't have a lot of information to go on to get started. I didn't know what to do. But after a lot of consistency and a lot of trial and error, I eventually started to appreciate my own body again. And with that came a lot of questions from other moms trying to do the same, that wanted to know and needed the information. And so that's how Personal Trainer Me was born. And I just want to bridge that gap between where they want to be and where they are so that they can get out there and show up as their best selves for their kids and themselves. I am a veteran. I served 10 years in the United States Air Force. My husband, he's still currently serving, and together we're raising 3 beautiful kids who are pretty much the main reasons why I'm so passionate about fitness, because keeping up with them is very important to me. And I just want to help others to be able to do the same.
Oh, that is good. Thank you so much, Sheena. So we're going to get right into it. I was intentional. It was important for me to, like I was telling Kenny and Lanisha this morning, is that it was important for me to bring men on into this space as well. Because I think so often, for sure, in African American community, like when we look at some of our men's wellness and health, like it's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. And I think it's important, right? So it helps them like show up better as husbands, as sons, as brothers, right? It just helps them being able to connect with themselves a little bit more. So I was on a hunt and I was just searching for, and I remember I sent like a few people, a few messages, and Kenny replied back and Terrence replied back. So I was thankful that they agreed to kind of show up today to share their expertise and knowledge so we can also start engaging the men as well in regards to their health and wellness. And I think it's like so important. So I wanted them to start us out first because I know they're both powerhouses. I've been watching them online. They have no idea I have. So I wanted them to start us out first, and I wanted the men to lead us into this space. So we're going to get right into our first question, y'all. What are some of the common health challenges that African American men face, and how can regular exercise and fitness help address some of the issues that they're experiencing?
I love it. Well, I know at least what makes it challenging or harder for men or grown men to accept or to embrace when it comes to mental health, I believe is our upbringing. You know, just like me, give example, right? My upbringing was my family watched basketball and football, right? So it wasn't soccer, it wasn't baseball, right? So there's a disconnect that I will have with that sport. I don't like it. If I had to watch it, I'm like, ugh, right? Because of my upbringing and because what my parents or family was excited about, which will help me to be excited about. And I believe it's the same thing, when it comes to that same environment. So if you have a mom and dad, and they're excited about, going to church, or they're excited about, work on the health, having a therapist and how that's really helped them to strive. And then I believe that kind of instills in us. So I just believe that it starts with home. I believe it starts with upbringing, but also I believe it starts with, what do we learn or what to be excited about or not excited about? And with men, it's about what status and getting girls and having money and be respected. So when we're excited about those things, or when we learn that those things are what makes us to feel powerful, be powerful, and I believe that attracts us. So I believe that's the shift that we have to have. And that's why I'm big with my guys that I coach. Like, hey, you have to be the sermon, not just say it to their kids, but also what are you excited about and showing, so then they are saying that I want to do what daddy is doing or mom is doing. So that's my opinion, my take. What's your thoughts, Kenneth?
Oh man, so I definitely wholeheartedly veggie back that big time. I think with our upbringing, we're not really conditioned to connect with one another in that aspect, especially with ourselves. I think one of the main things that gives us the issues that we experience is going to be poor metabolic health, and with that, so many things come up. We don't really learn about these things. Like, you're not learning about it in school. Your parents aren't really telling you about it. Your family members not telling you about it. You're being raised by your peers for the most part. So what you see out here in the world, you go and try to emulate that as well. Oh yeah, that's cool. Let me go ahead and do that too. But not knowing the whole time, that's not the right move for you to be making. So with that, I think our biggest issue for us is going to be poor metabolic health, because the processes that go on within our bodies, they rule us, but we're not aware of them. We don't have any knowledge to help mitigate that or conquer this. And that's why we're seeing the symptoms of so many different diseases populate in our people. It's like, no, like, we don't have to do this. But I say all that to say we can definitely change it. And some of the information that we talk about here today is going to help lead in that direction of helping everyone to become a better version of themselves.
Right. All right. So our next question is, what strategies can be implemented to make fitness facilities and programs more welcoming and accessible to African American men in underserved communities?
Mm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll jump out at this one. Um, for like fitness facilities, I don't think they need to do anything special because they make it accessible. We just have to get into a point where we prioritize ourselves. Our love for ourselves needs to show in our activities, in the words that we speak to one another, the words that we speak to ourselves in the mirror, the things that we listen to, the things that we ingest. I think that is what needs to take priority. Um, if we can put down the booze, we can put down the weed, we can put down the drugs, we can put down hanging out with our friends, not doing anything that's going to promote us in the future. I think that has more impact than what a facility can offer. Like you
I,
can go out here right now, go to Planet Fitness, get these $10 memberships. Like
mm-hmm.
that's not gonna that's not gonna solve anything unless you are aware that there's something that needs to be solved.
Right.
So we can go to any gym out there. They have the facility. They have the lower $10 a month memberships. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're out there looking for an answer that you don't have a question to.
Right.
I
Okay.
love that, and I agree. It's analogy for me is like, my background is football, so it's like having a practice field. I can have a field, but I need coaching, I need understanding, I need information, I know direction that way. So for me, I just believe in having that coaching, having that because I believe that behaviors are difficult to change and habits, and us being held accountable. And this is my opinion that men, why we struggle is that men don't want to be held accountable or not held accountable, while we have a lot of baby daddies and not taking care of, well, no, not baby daddies, absent fathers,
Mm-hmm.
and having those issues. And I really believe that is, are you willing to be held accountable for your behaviors and be held to a standard? And if you're not having somebody to have that with you and partner with you, then I believe it's so easy to go in a facility, like you said, you just looking around, you juggle machines, now you have doubt, now you don't believe that it's going to work, and now all that doubt, and now we lose hope, and when we lose hope, usually what that leads to suicide, meaning, and now I'm going to kill that dream or that vision or that goal that I have of myself, and now I stop, and now I got to start over. And I believe it's like a cycle, like jail, and I believe the fitness industry of why I left the gym, because I feel like these gyms is like a revolving door to where it's really set up for you to fail. Just my strong opinion, because if you're not having the right direction, just like a car, if I have a car, awesome, but if I don't want to drive it, I might crash it, and then now I can't use it. So that's my opinion.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And,
All right.
and to add on to that, like with that analogy of the car driving, yes, you have a destination that you want to get to, but if you're in a foreign land, you don't know
Mm,
those streets. And because you don't know those streets, you're just gonna go back to what's comfortable. You're gonna sit in the hotel and you're just gonna watch TV all day. You're gonna call your people on your phone, scroll through social media. So it's easy to gravitate to what's common, and going for that extra effort and becoming better takes a lot of effort, especially if you don't have that guide. So that's definitely going to be needed.
That's good.
that's good.
Listen, and I know we ain't on mental health yet, but what you just said was so powerful because trauma is also familiar.
It
Mm-hmm.
is.
So
It
when
is.
you get in a healthy mindset, when you are embraced by a healthy relationship or approached by a beneficial opportunity, it don't feel traumatic. There's no
Mhm.
drama.
Right.
So we fumble it, or
Mm-hmm.
we don't accept it as this is how it's supposed to be because it don't feel
Mhm.
like what it's always been.
Right.
Right.
And one thing that I've even identified within myself, you mentioning that, is that our nervous system it's been programmed for like chaos. And I realized like, no, my nervous system has been programmed this, that. And it's like, wait a minute, like, let's get some normalcy here. Like, let's get some like stability. Like you're used to being jucked and jolted all over. And my body was programmed with that. I've been reading a book, The Body Keeps Score, and it's accurate. Our body holds on to that trauma. It holds on from those. It's an imprint. First of all, like, I'm just gonna be transparent. It's an imprint from when our mothers are pregnant with us. Like let's keep that transparent too.
Right.
And those things are passed over to to us. And sometimes we don't realize that. And that was something I had to realize, like trauma from our parents is passed on to us. And it's unfortunate. And it is. We're having to reprogram that. Sometimes it can be a bit much. So we're going to get right into our next last question for the guys. What are some practical tips or recommendations you would give to an African-American man who is looking to start and maintain a fitness routine, regardless of their fitness level and background? And I know both of y'all go kill this last question.
And I might chime in on that too, but
please do.
Well, I'll say for me, if I had to start all over today for what I know now, the first thing that I would do is I would have to get acceptance of knowing that where I'm at. Do I know what I'm doing? Can I do it myself? Right. If I have tried in the past, and people say, I tried everything. Did you really try discipline? Did you really try it? Right. So I believe having a acceptance of it. And number two, I believe that I have to get clarity. And I believe that when we lack clarity of what to do, how to do, that's when procrastination comes. That's when we have impulse decisions. So I believe that having acceptance of where you at and being humble to say, hey, this is where I'm at, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't go to school for this, and it's okay. I'm not saying you have to know it all. I know with men, we can have that ego. So we're like, oh, ask for help is hard, or I shouldn't ask for help, or I'm in my 30s and 40s, so I should, here comes ego, I should know what to do. And I believe that is, are you willing to be humble and also get that clarity? So then once you know what to do and how to do, then it's a wrap. You can play fast. Like football. Once I know we're going on one or going on two and I know who to hit, I can play fast. But if I know, are we going left? Am I going right? What I do? And now I'm on head and now I don't execute and now I don't win the play. And now I'm like, damn, I'm not good enough. Now here comes shame. And then now I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to play no more. And I believe that's how I will start is acceptance and also getting clarity of what I need to do or stop doing.
Yeah, I definitely wholeheartedly agree with that. And then moving beyond is because I don't know what it is that I'm doing, I need to find me somebody that does know. I need that GPS to get me to my destination. Just like if your specialty, like one of the hats I wear, cybersecurity. So if my focus is cybersecurity, and I got to do something in the bathroom, deal with plumbing, I'm not about to go on here and scroll Instagram and YouTube and try and figure all that out. Like, it doesn't make sense. That's not my strength. So now I'm about to input all these hours into trying to figure out, okay, I got a good idea of how to deal with this. Instead of doing that, put that energy into finding somebody that does know how to do it. Get you a coach, get you a guide, and let's make that thing happen. Because with this coach and this guide, they have the knowledge and the experience to make this thing happen for you. So when you come to, like, say you come to me, and you can go to any coach, any trainer out there who's going to help you, but you come to me, I'm gonna make sure we have a conversation to figure out what it is that you're after. Why are you after it? With that, I can then formulate a plan. The plan is where a lot of us go awry, because we don't know exactly how to get there. So with the plan, you at least have your guide, your milestones that you want to get before you get to your ultimate goal. So with that, you'll be good to go. So that's the thing that I would suggest to you. Like, reach out, get you a coach, get you a guide, because all the best players in the world, all the best people in the world have had a coach. Look at Michael Jordan. Like, he had a coach. Would he have been the best player in the world without Phil Jackson? Maybe, maybe not. No one knows. But without Phil Jackson there, he may not have been. But there's so many different people out there in the same arena. Like, get you a coach to help leapfrog you to the next level.
And it's so good, and that's that acceptance part, right? It's like, well, maybe I couldn't. No, let's look at your track record, right? Let's not go on feelings. It shows that you haven't won no championship. It shows that you have been getting swept. So the truth is no. And if you're not willing to accept that, then that's when we stay going with those same insanity type followings. But go ahead. I'm sorry for good stuff.
Okay. It's all good. So, yeah, I just want to come in and say also patience. I feel like that is a really big thing. A lot of people and a lot of men will go in and expect to look like Adonis in a month, right? And so you didn't gain weight, all the weight in a month. It took you a while to do that. So you have to give
So
yourself
I'm a
that
man then.
time. Yes. And you have to like be patient and you have to trust the process, because that's where a lot of people will quit, because they're like, well, it's been a month and I haven't seen the scale move the way I want it to move. So it's not working, when you haven't really given it the same amount of time that you gave to all the things that got you to where you are. And so that's what I would say too. Just once again, get rid of that ego and don't expect to go in bench pressing 225, on the first day, and give it some time, work up to it. You may not be able to bench press anything at first, but eventually you will be, and eventually you'll see that. And once you start to feel better, then it's going to come, on your outside, and it's going to show. So I think patience too is a really big thing that I see when it comes to exercising and getting in the gym or eating better or anything like that. It's not all about how you look. Start to pay attention first to how you feel, and then you'll start to see those things.
Right. And that's
And
the
I
thing.
think,
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. That's the thing too. I always say as well, is that people see the outward appearance, right, of the work that has been put in, but it's also the inner, and that's the part that I think people often forget about. It's like, oh, well, they look like this, they look like that, but it's like, no, Tanya's been doing a lot of inner work as well, and really doing that work to really show up. So now it's able to again exude on the outside, and other people around me can see it and even also feel it, right, when you're in my presence. So I agree. I think it's more than just worried about that outward appearance as well.
Yeah, that and recognize that there's more ways to get to your results. Like
Mhm.
in the case of fitness, like the scale is not the only measurement of success. You have energy, you have mental clarity, you
Yeah.
have inches lost, things like that.
Yeah.
But because you're not deep in this game like a coach would be, then you don't know these things. So you have to make sure that you get with someone who's knowledgeable and can point out different things to you. Like, hey, you're making progress. No, it's not on the scale, but these other three areas, you're crushing. So getting that knowledge and awareness is definitely going to
Oh,
be
and
good.
don't be afraid to try new things and different things,
Yes.
because you might go in the gym and hate lifting weights, and that's why you don't want to go. And that's why it's so hard for you to do it. I mean, you should, but at the same time, you might like yoga, you might like running. That might be your thing. So don't be afraid to try different things to find something that fits, your path, because
And
that
yeah,
also
yeah.
how you quit.
That,
And, and, and things that are new and hard, I believe, is also separated. And that's the thing also I want to help people, because they're like, oh, it's hard. No, it's new. Right? Things new don't mean have to be hard. And I think that's the thing that I had to really work on, because again, we tend to want to go things we're good at or our strengths. But I really had to say, nah, T, like, it's like me doing running. When I was a lineman, 300 pounds. I like running. Right. So when I first started to lose weight and do running, and I'll say it's hard, I had to tell myself, no, Terrence, just new. Right, you'll get better at it. Just work it. But again, it goes back to ego, right? Where I really had to humble it and bring that ego down, and just have joy with the process, and just enjoy it and let it go, and just learn every day, get 1% better.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think my theory now is I remain curious to all possibilities. And I think what happens, because we're so conditioned to think a certain way, that anything outside of what's normal, let me tell you, I've always been curious. I've been curious ever since I was a little girl, and I'm still curious. And I always remain curious, and I keep myself open. Even now, I'm keeping myself open to possibilities, and I'm seeing like, oh, well, wait a minute. Literally just had a conversation with Lanisha and Nari this week through text message. They like my my unpaid mentors that they have no idea that they are. We're like taking the thread, and I'm like, and it's the curiosity, like, oh, well, wait a minute, I could explore this, or I could explore that. So I like to always, I stay curious, and it just allows me to open and expand more as well. So I'm able to pivot and go into the place where I'm supposed to be, opposed to staying stagnant and stuck. And I think that's another big one as too. We're so used to doing things a certain way. So that was a good one. All right. So this next section is about mental health. And in my healing journey, I have learned to be vulnerable. I don't mind having open conversations with people about my journey, the things that I've experienced. I went through a point when I was in a shell. I didn't really want to talk about it, where now I'm like, hey, this is who I am, right? These are the things I've been able to overcome. And I just remember what led and what created Empowered Wellbeing, what created me going into the yoga space and getting certified is because I'm just going to be honest, I was sinking in depression. I was sinking in depression, and I knew that I had to do something so I could show up for Desmond, so I could still show up for work, right? And next thing I know, now I have this global brand, right, that's emerging from my moment of being in depression. Like, let's just keep it real. So it was important for me to bring on two experts in that field so they can kind of talk a little bit more about it, give their expertise. From a professional side because they work with it every day, whether it's kids or adults, they're in that space every single day. So, Marion, my girl, Lanisha, I'm going to let them take the floor for a few. And if we want to chime in, we can. So our first question is, what are some unique challenges that African Americans face in assessing mental health care, and how can we work to overcome these barriers?
So first, I just want to apologize, you guys. I woke up this morning and my voice was gone. So bear with me. But I think one of the main things when it comes to mental health care is the lack of accessibility. Even, when I heard you guys talking about fitness, I feel like there's a lack of accessibility there as well, because when we look at grocery stores that actually have the produce, when we look at gyms, I've never seen, if I'm being honest, I haven't seen the Planet Fitness in the hood. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with adequate mental health care. As a mental health therapist myself, I personally do not know of any mental health facilities or even outpatient facilities that are in the hood, which makes it a little bit less accessible for individuals of color. If you are someone who doesn't have access to maybe a car, okay, well, if you can't necessarily get to a mental health facility, then how are you supposed to get these resources? So I think that when it comes to accessibility of mental health, specifically for people of color, there is a deficit. And that's where talking about this comes into play, because we can't work on something until we address it. But the fact is, we're not talking about it enough. Most people don't even know truly about mental health to even start the conversation. And that's why we see this continuous cycle of a lack of resources for us, because no one's speaking out, no one's going to community leaders to talk about this. So there's definitely a lack of resources for us. But I think we have to, again, start that conversation to get more intentional, so that way we can start advocating for ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's four main challenges that I see. It is the limited access to care, like Nari was talking about. Okay, so we know that more African Americans are more likely to be uninsured, underinsured, which makes it difficult to afford the services. But before all that, how about the stigma? We don't want to look crazy. We've been taught not to talk about things that happen in this house. And that goes back to the historical trauma, systematic racism that we've all faced, our ancestors endured, and they've experienced, and that continues to plague us today. But even after all that, after you maybe drudge up the courage to seek help, you understand the trauma that you're carrying. You have then the limited access to compete with. And then how about, where is your culturally competent therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Can you afford them? Are they in your area? Are they going to look like you? Are they going to understand what you mean when you say certain words, when you use certain verbiage? Just the other day, I was talking to someone, and and they're not a client, they're a friend, but she was describing some of her, like her family, like going through her genealogy, and I said, okay, now she was like, well, she's not really my grandma. She's like my step grandma, but she's not okay, so is she your auntie grandma, or is she your like cousin? Like because we all know what that means. Because I got cousins that are like my grandma age. I can't call you cousin. You auntie.
Yep.
We all in this space know what that means, and we understand that, but somebody else may not. So it's just those simple things. When I'm just having a conversation, are you going to understand my history, what I'm trying to communicate, that to you and I is basically unspoken, is here, but to somebody else, they're not going to be able to comprehend that. And that goes back to the unique experience of our people. And you have to find somebody after all of those other challenges and barriers that's going to be understanding to you on your level, and not just somebody who's going to yes man you, or yes, tell you all the things you want to hear, but really get to the pit and root of the issues that you have so that you can make informed decisions about your treatment, because you have the autonomy in your care. I don't care if you're seeing a therapist, a coach, a doctor, a dentist. I am the one that's the most versed on my experience, my body, my mind, my behaviors. You can't tell me better than me, but you can guide and assist me. And that's what therapy is. It's guiding and assisting.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think you kind of touch bases on the stigma as well within the mental health community. I do feel like so often, like we were saying earlier when we were talking, is that when you get to talking about and telling somebody that you're going to therapy or you're seeking a therapist, oh my God. And it's just like, well, wait a minute. Like, this is a way. I don't think people realize that we have to be able to get it out. And what happens is that when we sit on it and we sit on those things that are kind of like buried within us and we don't talk, it festers. And that festering, it turns into a health issue that sometimes you don't realize because you haven't released it, or you haven't connected to somebody that can help you release it by being able to verbally get it out. I remember when I started like my healing journey, which was like 2018, it got really, really deep. But being able to go to my therapist and being able to get those words out, it started moving that energy to kind of get so I can kind of start being able to show up. Even me being able to speak right now, right? I could barely even, girl, get it out. And it's like, what do you have to say? But it's like, well, you don't realize like that energy is stuck there. So I agree. As soon as you say that you're going to see a therapist, they think you I'm not suicidal or nothing. I just think that we need somebody to talk to that can possibly understand me, because what I'm saying to you, you don't quite understand, or you want to act like it didn't happen when it did happen. So let's just move you from the equation and let me just go to somebody that's a professional that can help me through this process, especially when you're trying to become a better person. And that's the part I think sometimes in our community, we don't always understand, or we're just so, again, we're set in a certain mindset that we don't want to, this is it. I'm stuck with it. This is how everybody else did it, but I choose to do differently for LaTanya. So you've already addressed the stigma for sure, Lanisha. Okay, so our next question is, how can we ensure that mental health services and resources are accessible to African American youth, adults, and seniors?
So just kind of going back, I think, again, it's starting a conversation, really, because mental health within our community is very taboo. I remember being younger and, transparency moment, I attempted suicide. That's what got me into mental health. And so I remember, before I made that attempt, I was telling everyone, y'all, I don't really feel good. I'm just very depressed. And everyone's like, it's okay to have sad days. You'll be okay. And I was in a Caribbean household. So, and it was always like, go drink some ginger ale. You'll be okay. And I'm like, that's not going to help me. You know what I mean? And no one understood or really had the compassion that I needed in those moments. And so, it took that for me to kind of realize, like, okay, this is an issue. We got to talk about it. So just simply talking about it, but creating a space where people feel safe enough to do so. Because again, like you said, we have that stigma. And if somebody comes to you because they feel like they can be vulnerable with you, you have all these opinions, you got judgment, you're low-key biased. And so you haven't created a space where someone even feels safe enough to be real with you about what they're saying. I think it's starting that conversation, but then also just educating people, because the fact is that, yeah, there aren't a bunch of resources that are adequate and even accessible to us, but that doesn't mean that there aren't resources. And I think that because the resources might not be within your 5 blocks, we're not aware of them. And so we automatically just feel like, all right, well, there's nothing. But the fact is there are, because if you are going through a mental health crisis, there are lines you can call. There's a mobile crisis response team who will literally come out to wherever you are. You can go to your local emergency room. You can call 211-988. So the resources are there. They're just not in our community always, but there are resources. And so I think by talking to each other about the available resources, educating people, encouraging people to really, go. I feel like everyone should get evaluated once a year. I think everyone should be mandated to have a therapist. If you ask me, I'm a therapist and I have a therapist. So I think, again, once we kind of normalize those things and educate, our peers, our family and friends on, mental health and the resources that are available for us, I think that we will see, hopefully we will see, people taking advantage of them. And then in doing so, then maybe we will start to get those resources within our community. But again, we don't take advantage of it. Of course, we're not going to, have them right there where we need them accessible. So,
Yeah.
Exactly. It has to be normalized. It has to be just like you get a cancer diagnosis, you go to a specialist. You might be in a whole facility that only treats cancer. There's 5Ks for your cancer. There's campaigns and ads on TVs and billboards everywhere for that cancer. Why not for mental health? We
Right.
have to have these community partnerships. We have to have tailored interventions. Okay, this person's not able to treat you because they're not culturally competent. We have the diversity for your condition, the where you can go to tons of other people. We can address those systemic barriers also, but we have to provide that education, that outreach, and it has to be literally everywhere in order for it to be normalized. So just like if you having money troubles, you don't go to a divorce attorney. You go to somebody who's well versed in financial matters. If you have an issue with your marriage, you go to somebody who has been married for advice. Like we don't. It's not rocket science. If
Mhm.
you are feeling any other way than healthy in whatever matter that means for you, if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling depressed, whatever, you're hearing things that nobody else hears, whatever it is, go to someone who is skilled in those areas. If you cannot find one, don't stop looking, keep looking. Just
Yeah.
like if you wouldn't stop at the first person that didn't know anything about bankruptcy and you know you're in financial trouble, you would keep seeking. You would keep talking about it. You wouldn't be able to shut up about this because it's an issue that you have that is impacting your daily life, your daily functioning. And until that's remedied, that's all you're going to be able to focus on. That's
Right.
how we normalize it. That's how we make sure that every group, every sect of a person of humanity gets the care that they need.
Right. I agree. And to piggyback well off what Nara said as well, the judgment space, and we got the chat, few people in the chat also kind of mentioned that too, is that we are afraid of being judged, right, by people. But then people also say, well, I didn't know. But it's like, yeah, I didn't come to you because I was afraid of being judged of what I was like really going through internally. So it's like you're kind of contradicting yourself a little bit, right? So, and also too, somebody made the comment of finding the village. I have a phenomenal community of women that are around me in this current season. And being able to have that community to kind of lean on, like again, me being able to learn how to be vulnerable in spaces, right? Being able to talk, well, I'm kind of going through this, I'm kind of going through that, and having the tools that really, really helps a lot, I would say. So I agree. With someone in the comments saying having the village and the support is like imperative, and people that truly support you, and not as soon as you hang up the phone, they on the phone with somebody else blabbering about everything that you just kind of confided within them. So I think for sure that's absolutely correct, Nari. Again, we're just so afraid sometimes to really talk about the things that we are experiencing.
I would like to say also, I think, so a while ago, my husband, he was deployed. And I remember I started having I couldn't breathe, right? And I didn't know what it was. I was thinking something was wrong with me, right? So I remember going to the hospital and I had the nurse never, ever brought up the idea of you might be experiencing anxiety, right? So I didn't know what it was. So I just went back home and I'm just telling my husband, I'm like, I just hope the kids don't wake up one day and find me here because I can't breathe. And the more I couldn't breathe, the worse it got, right? Because I got more and more anxious about it. And so I had to Google, like, what is going on? I have shortness of breath, but they said that, my oxygen levels are fine. And then, like you said, you get the stigma after that. Oh, wait, this is anxiety. It can't be anxiety. I can't have that. This is me. Like, what do you mean? What even is that, right? And so I think that is important too when you go into healthcare spaces where they're not, because sometimes you can feel judged there. All right. Because I remember talking to the nurse and she's looking at me like, your oxygen is fine. You seem like you're in here looking for something else. And I'm like, I really can't breathe, and leaving out of there feeling just so defeated too. So I think within traditional healthcare spaces, they need to be prepared for people of color too, and not just judging us from the door, because that is probably our first line too. When you figure out that something's wrong and you want to go and get seen because you don't know it's mental. And so we need to be, people need to be well versed in dealing with people of color as well when we go into these other, regular healthcare spaces.
So we have a question, Lanisha. What advice would you give when finding the right therapist that fits your needs?
So, okay. So I'm a woman of color, so I would like to talk to a woman of color. I've had good experiences and I've had some not so good experience. Good experience in the fact that I don't have to give you a precursor on Black life, Black upbringing, and things like that. Because at this point, we almost all grew up almost the same. We have that shared thread that unites all of us. And negative in the fact that because you are or share some similarities to me, it felt like it was just a friend chat. And that wasn't helpful for me because I have plenty of friends. I have plenty of people I can call up and vent to. But when it comes time to putting in an action plan, treating my actual issues, a friend is not going to be the expert. They're not going to have those tools. They're not going to know about interventions. They're not going to be able to say, all right, this is what you're experiencing. This is where you want to get to. Now let's put a plan in place that you can follow. And I'm here to guide and assist you on that plan. They're not going to be well versed in that. So I would say get you someone that's culturally competent, get you someone that's going to hold you accountable, get you someone that's going to help you formulate a plan for treatment, whatever that looks like for you, and somebody who's going to acknowledge the fact that, hey, you are progressing. If your anger was at a 10 and it's at a 7, progress, and we're going to celebrate that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, if you were smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and now it's more like 2 or 3 a week, progress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what someone else might demonize or another clinician might shame you for or ignore, we are going to celebrate every step of the way because we understand what it took to get you here, what it took for you to seek this help, what it took for you to actually ask for the help.
That's good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was just going to say everything that you said, yes, like on point. And I think that, again, it's the same thing like how when she went to the doctor and she felt unseen and unheard by the nurses. Like when you have somebody that you feel actually cares, you feel it. Like you feel that energy, you feel that vibe, you feel. So I think that the biggest thing is just going with your feelings, going with your gut. And, just remember, honestly, that finding a therapist, a good therapist, is going to be like a good, you're going to have to try on a couple, right? Until you find that one. But when you do and they fit right, that's exactly what it is. It's just a feeling, and you know that feeling. So just pay attention to your gut, because when you have somebody that you know for a fact is willing to listen to you, advocate for you, you'll just feel it. It'll click. There won't be any confusion. But also, too, I think that, yes, having someone that's culturally competent is very important, but I don't feel like you can only get that with someone within your race. And I say that because one of my first therapists was white. And at first I was like, okay, like, how is this going to work? But she was probably one of the most knowledgeable individuals that I had been with, because she had done the work. And instead of trying to make me something that I wasn't, she met me where I was. And so I think that it's just important to recognize that, right? Just, it doesn't necessarily have to have a certain face or look a certain way. It's just, again, you can feel it. So just pay attention to your gut over everything.
Exactly. And first of all, acknowledge what I'm telling you. Don't ignore me, because I was a mom of 2 kids under 2 in graduate school, and I was literally to be a therapist and was literally telling my primary care provider, like, this is how I'm feeling. Something's not right. I keep having these dreams. I keep having these thoughts of doing something that on the surface I would never do, but subconsciously it's telling me that it would be okay to do that because that's a solution. I was looking for temporary fixes for something that was way more permanent than that. And I was being told, oh, but you're a strong Black woman. I'm telling you, I don't want to be. That's not my intent. That's not my desire to be a strong Black woman. I know that's what you think I'm supposed to be because you're taught that that's we are. I'm telling you, the reliance is not working for me, and
Mhm.
you're not listening. And so you got to find you somebody that's going to listen, and you also have to find somebody who's culturally competent and knowledgeable. Yes, but you have to also be prepared that they're not always going to agree with you. They're going to hold you accountable. They're going
Mhm.
to question and challenge your thoughts. And if you're not ready for that, it doesn't matter what the race is. You're not going to accept that from anybody.
Mhm. I agree. So we have a comment, and I actually, as you were talking, Lanisha, the comment came through, and I was actually sitting here thinking, and this was going to be the next thing I say, is that we live in a society, and we've been brought up where everything has to be perfect.
Yes.
And I have learned to give myself grace over this healing journey, because it's like I'm a human, right? I am not perfect. Things are going to happen. I'll never forget it was one of my Monday night classes. I have just started teaching there, and it was traffic. And y'all, the old me would have been like, oh my God, I'm late. I got to be there when they come in. Y'all, I walked in cool as a cat, baby. Hey, let me tell y'all something.
Mm,
Yes.
And we hear y'all get on down. Let's play this music, and y'all get. And then y'all on top of that, as we're in the class, I'm already late. Tell me why I'm a tablet disconnected. And I say, hey, just don't even worry about it. We'll be good tonight. But an old version of me would have went into panic, and I have learned to give myself grace to say I am not perfect.
mhm.
But we live in a society where everything has to be perfect. Even sometimes the ability for people to start pursuing their dreams, they don't, because they feel like it has to be perfect. And nothing is perfect. If you look through some people that were starting a journey and how they progress, and you look back over their videos, it's a true statement. And Lanisha just said it is progress over perfection. So that's what
Period.
I had to
The
learn
word.
over the years, is to give myself grace, honey, because I am not perfect. Even if this thing this morning wouldn't have got together, I would have been like, hey y'all, we come and give us a few minutes. We got some technical difficulties, but the grace of God was with us this morning, and we was able to get
Yes.
right on with no problems. But I was already prepared mentally, and my health and wellness journey has equipped me to get into this space where I'm in a physical mental space to be like, hey, I'm okay with how things go today. It's going to flow just the way it's supposed to go. But I've learned that I'm not perfect. So that's a good comment that I think is Burl Stephen.
And see, LT, I was doing the reverse of that. So where I accepted that is progress, not perfection, I was also though a milker. So one thing happened
Mhm.
at the top of my day. Now it's not just a bad morning; it's a bad morning, afternoon, evening, night. I done spent more energy milking that situation that could have easily been
Yeah.
dealt with and got me on my way and focus that energy with something that really is productive. But nah, you cut me off. Okay, okay, Miss Ma'am. And I don't care if you was 2 or 82, you getting all this smoke. I'm cussing you out. Period. And have a
Guilty.
blessed day. And that's how I was rocking. Like, girl, who hurt you? A lot of people. And until I address that, that's when I can say, oh, you go ahead, baby. Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah.
Because the old me, mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. So many aspects of life require us to be great, especially for us men. Like we got to be great at everything that we do. That's the idea seeping into us, even from a young age. Like you come up, you in school, I need you to get the best grades. I need you to get all A's, even though, or not even asking the question, can you relate to the information that you're being taught? And from there, like I only expect you to get A's. That's what was instilled in my house coming up. So from there, it's like, all right, so I gotta be perfect in this environment. Then I go to get a job, I gotta be perfect in that environment. Then I get into the military, and I have to be perfect in this environment because the military is predominantly white. So I really gotta stand out. Like I don't want to ruffle any feathers. So there's a lot of different uh, the mental downpour of perfection is upon us in every angle that we go, that we operate
Yeah.
life in. So yeah, we just got to be willing to ask for help, and then just realize that progress. That's all I need. I just need to get better by 1%. That's
That's
it.
right. Because we're already at a deficit when we're talking about, just like when we're talking about education and standardized testing. You think those standardized testing took into consideration us?
Nope.
No, because we're not the standard.
No.
So and I know this because I used to score rubrics for a standardized test. And so they would have a picture and I would literally be like, that's a bunny. No, it's not. It's a rabbit. But if I'm a little black kid and all I see is the Easter bunny, or my parents and my peers are saying, this is a bunny, this is a bunny, this is a bunny, and I get on the test and I pick bunny, but bunny's not an option, what is a rabbit?
That's
okay, so something as simple as that. Just take into consideration that everybody don't call the thing that you calling that thing.
Right.
That's a good one.
If it's gonna be standardized, make it standard for everybody.
Right.
And they can't do that because we all speak different languages.
That's right.
Like we all have a common tongue of English, but that ain't how we do when we at home. We don't talk in when I'm at work, I may speak in English because I have to be a chameleon and fit to this environment. But when I'm with my friends, the personality that I display when I'm with my friends is way different than the personality that I display when I'm at work or at a family event. Like these are all different alter egos that we manifest and we play in. But the question is, what is the real version of you? Who are you for real? Getting down to the core of you and being able to let that person out, that's going to be very empowering to us.
Right. Man, can I say something? I want to, man, because this subject, I've been quiet, but boy, this gets me, right? Because this perfect thing, I believe for us African Americans, I'm from Compton, California, so being around Compton and lower income industry, a lot of hurt people. And I know with African Americans, when it comes to school, elementary, middle school, two things that you're going to get is either one, you're going to feel that rejection, or you're going to have that where your imperfections are going to be seen, because what kids do is look at your head, look at this, look at your body. And I believe that what happens as we grow, at least let me talk to me, is that now my goal is not to look bad in front of nobody, because I've been looking bad or been exposed for so many years, day in and day out in school, day in, day out with my cousins, day in, day out with my on football teams. So now my goal is to, how can I now not look bad? And now my mind is, I got to have things to be perfect. But let's be real. You're not perfect. Look at your body. Look at your bank account. Look where you're at. You're not perfect. Let's be real. But I believe that also rejection breeds addiction. And I know that I became addicted to not look bad in front of people. So now I'd rather not try things, because if I try, if I fail, again, that's going to now go against the goal of me. I not look bad. So just like fitness, I'd rather not try, because now that's going to mess up the little self-esteem I do have. And I'd rather hold on the little bit that I have than me trying to risk it. And I believe that's the bigger thing of not the perfect thing. I believe that our goal is not to look bad. And that comes from childhood, because we love to bag on each other. We love to talk about each other. And now it's like, I'm not going to show that. So now I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be reserved. I'm not going to talk to people, blah, blah, blah. And that's just my take about this whole perfect thing that we have.
Right. Well, you know,
or you only try as high as you feel you can succeed. Right before the failure. Yeah.
Well, a part of that, just to kind of piggyback off of what he's saying, I read a book, it was a psychology book, where it says when we're kids, we're praised when we do things, right? So you make the right grades, it's yay. And then what happens, that bleeds over into adulthood. So we're kind of taught and conditioned as kids, is you got to be perfect. You got to be perfect. That's the only way you can make friends. That's the only way you can be who you have to be perfect. And then I feel like that just bleeds over into so many different people. And you just think like, I have to be perfect. And again, I feel like that perfection, it keeps us stuck, and we will not pursue the things that we want to pursue because we think it has to be perfect, and it does not have to be perfect. And that's something, like I say, just giving myself grace, child.
Can I challenge that? Have any of y'all heard that being perfect? I never heard that in my life, to be perfect. Like I like to be like, let's just be not the story we put in our head, but have you guys heard of somebody said to be perfect? Like, I never
I
heard
don't
it be
think,
perfect.
well, here's the deal. I don't think they have verbally said be perfect, but it is the structure and how things are kind of happening and taught. I feel like that in our mind, like we feel like it has to be perfect. Like, again, make the straight A's, or again, you're looking at somebody else on social media and their stuff seem aesthetically pleasing and perfect. And then again, you're afraid to even kind of start showing up for yourself. So I don't think anybody necessarily says be perfect, but I think it's just how we have been taught. And even sometimes on our jobs, right? You mess up and you do something wrong. They taking your behind to that room to sit down with you to have a conversation. So it's the subconscious and where it's kind of playing on our minds. And that's what I think, they don't verbally say be perfect, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, it's repercussions behind it.
Exactly. I don't think it's blatantly said we must be perfect, but we know if we make a mistake, it's highlighted on a grander scale, a larger scale. So we can't, just like with the one black lady that was the president of Harvard.
Yeah.
We can't say nothing out of line. We can't have no opinions. We can't use AI. We can't do nothing, right? We supposed to be top tier, and so it may not be blatantly said that you have to be perfect, but we do have to have all our I's dotted and all of our T's crossed, because the minute we don't, they own us. They are on us. And I credit the two women in my life who taught me. First of all, I grew up poor, but what I didn't have, and you called me out about it, it wasn't no problem, because now I'm on your ass. I'm joning on you. And you're not going to out-jone me, because my mama already did it. She done set me up to the point where she loved me. She loved my brother, but she'll tell you in a minute, girl, where you going with your big head and them, it just slick back ponytail, like, that ain't the look. So, because my mom had that, like, okay, so if you say something to me, it ain't no problem. That's all you got. Oh, be prepared, because the comebacks is gonna be crazy. And I also had a grandmother who, she didn't care what you started. Oh, you going out for that? You trying out for that? You gonna do that? That's fine. No praise until you finish. So although she didn't say you got to be perfect, she also wasn't gonna give you no until you was done. So start, but finish though. Follow through.
And I would say as well too, like I was never told, be perfect, but I grew up with that, do your best, right? And so sometimes people will tell you to do your best, and then you will do your best, and then they will say that's not good enough. So if my best isn't good enough, then what are you telling me, that perfection is what you're looking for? Because these mistakes I made, I didn't know I made, because I gave you all I had in this moment. And so I think a lot of times that also perpetuates that be perfect, because I gave my best, that wasn't good enough, so I have to give something I don't even have. And then that starts to put into your mental health too.
And
And it
if you
starts to like
only
mess
come
with
to
your
me
self-esteem too.
when I
Yeah.
did something wrong, but you're not telling me or praising me when I do it right, then how I know?
Yeah. But even
exactly. Yeah.
Talk about like from our parents, but it goes even further back than that. It's further deep rooted. Think about slavery, right? When they would sell slaves, you had to be a certain type of slave just to get sold, right? Or we were held to certain standards
or to be in the house
and meet those, right? Yeah, they separated us, and if we didn't meet certain standards, we was getting beat on. We would still get beat on even if we was meeting these standards, right? So it's a mindset that goes even further back beyond our parents. We've always had to reach certain expectations, and even now we think that we're healed in those ways, but we're not, and that's why we continuously see the cycle going on and on, because people think that because they don't necessarily feel it or it's not in their conscience that it's not a problem. No, it's in there.
Oh yeah, that trauma has been passed down from many generations.
Absolutely.
I mean, and so I
So we
think
gotta
is that generational trauma that people think, oh, well, it didn't happen to me, so I'm good. No, baby, you affected too. So it's one of those things you got to work on.
Okay, so Nara, we got a question, and Nick wants to know. It's kind of personal, but Nick wants to know what made you realize that life was worth living, and how you, I guess, wanted to help others when you went through your season.
So when I made my suicidal attempt, y'all, I was young, like I was 12, right? And it's, saying that out loud, I'm like, as a 12-year-old, all right, like, what were you going through? Or like, where did that come from, right? But again, I think it shows that, I didn't feel like I had that safe space. And like, my mom is the most supportive person in the world, but at that time I just felt like she didn't understand me, right, in the ways that I needed. She couldn't support in the ways that I needed. So after I had this, and being again transparent, I remember telling my mom, like, hey, I took a bottle of pills, and she thought I was playing, so nothing happened. Like, and granted, I took like a bunch of Tylenol, right, so nothing was going to happen in that moment. Now maybe later in life I might have some liver problems, but in that moment, nothing had happened. And so I remember my mom took me for a joke. And so it was just like, okay. And so it wasn't until one day I went to school and I wrote, like, I guess a suicide note. And so somebody had gotten a hold of it. And so at that point, my mom had no choice but to be like, okay, you know what? No, she was serious. And so my mom, got me into therapy. And so I was very thankful for her, thankful for that. And so I just kind of going through therapy from like middle school up until I went to college. I will say that it just gave me a perspective as far as, there are people that, are willing to listen, and it made me feel seen and heard. I had a new idea just as far as confidence, what that looked like for me. I basically had recreated myself in a sense at such a young age. And then, I got to college. So I went to college 1,000 miles away because I'm originally from DC and I moved to Florida. And so I came to Florida, y'all, and I was the most depressed that I had ever been. Like, I had lost my grandma, my best friend, a couple weeks before moving, and I'm moving to this new state at 17 by myself, no family, no friends, and I was so depressed. And so I started failing in school, and I remember going to my academic advisor, and she said, "This just isn't for you. Maybe you should just drop out." And so I'm like, okay. So I let that affect me, and I did exactly what she said. So I didn't drop out. I flunked out. I flunked out of the University of Tampa, and at that point, I was just such in a low space, and I kept saying, "Mom, I need to come home. Like, I can't do this. This just isn't for me." And my mother said, "No, you need to figure it out, work through it, go back to therapy." So that's what I did. I went back to therapy, and I started working through it. And so after a year of really working on myself and really just being silent, being still, not doing a bunch of extra stuff, but just taking time for myself, that's when I realized, like, you know what? No, I got this. And so, when I initially went to school, I wanted to be a pediatrician. But after, that experience that I had, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a therapist. So, I really found myself, in one of my darkest of times. And so from that, I was able to, just kind of work through it and to really figure out, who I was and, find my reason to live. And everyone's reason is different, right? Now that I have kids and, a husband, that's my reason. Pouring back into my community is my reason. We can have multiple reasons, but I think just really figuring out your why, what gets you up in the morning, what gets you excited. A lot of us are going through life and we're simply existing. We're not living. I ask people so often, like, what's your purpose? And they'll say, I don't know. And I'm like, so you don't know or have an idea of what makes you, just happy. When you hit your feet hit the floor in the morning, like, what just keeps you going? And most people don't know. So I think that just really doing that inner work to understand truly what it is that, what you offer, what you bring to the table, again, what keeps you going, because a lot of people don't reflect. Self-care, even though it's something that seems so simple, a lot of us don't take care of ourselves. We think that self-care is getting your hair done and your nails done, and that's great, that's cute. But the fact is, that's not really doing the work that you really need to get out of those dark spaces or to be able to really pour into yourself in the way you need. So to answer your question in a nutshell, for me, it was just really putting in the work for myself, not considering anybody else, what they wanted for me, what they were saying about me. I did the work for myself, and I figured out, what it was that I felt was my purpose. And again, had I not gone through any of those challenges, I don't think that I would be a therapist today. So God put me in a place where I had to hurt, where I had to go through pain, I had to be depressed and suicidal to understand my purpose. So I think it's just finding the light, the testimony, and the lesson in those dark times.
I agree. And I personally feel like, too, a lot of times it's our own journeys that kind of lead us to the space that we're in. I know for me, creating Power Wellbeing, like I said, it was me going through my own and doing my own ancestral trauma healing and things like that led me to this space. So I agree. A lot of times it is our journeys that lead us to these spaces that we become passionate about. So, Nick says she's thankful for you sharing your story. She cannot wait to hear more from you. So thank you, Nara, for being vulnerable in this space to even share that with us too. All right, so we're going to go to overall health, fitness, and nutrition. We can all kind of chime in. I'll use, and again, I always like to give examples. So the first question is, why is body movement essential for overall health and well-being, and how does it benefit Afro Americans individually? I can answer that one for myself, and you guys can kind of chime in as well. When I was just not doing any type of body movement, that's when I realized the depression was really, really, really bad. Once I'll never forget, I was at home one day and something was just like, go to yoga to the gym. I had already kind of practiced yoga when I lived in Arizona, and I got away from it when I got to Atlanta. And then when I get to Tampa, I'm in this depressing stage. And something says, go to yoga today on your lunch break. And I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I go to yoga and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So then I started going back. Then I started going, like, they had a Sunday afternoon class. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is really doing something for my body. And I just started looking. I knew that at some time I would be in a space where I was going to be coaching women, really being able to do the inner work. So I was like, wait, this could be a toolkit that I can kind of add to what I'm doing. And I will tell you that the days that I have not moved my body, I can tell and I can feel it. You have to be able to move. Body movement is so important. And I don't think sometimes we realize that. Not saying that it's an all cure all. Yes, there are some people that might need a deeper, more help in regards from their doctors, right? But I know for me, when I was going through that phase of depression, that yoga really, really helped me, and it helps me to this day. Like it's a non-negotiable. Even me walking, getting out and just going to walk for an hour. I'll do 4 to 5 miles a day, depending upon the day. But moving my body, I'm telling you guys, it is a game changer in regards to your mental health, your physical health. It's keeping you mindful and present. So I cannot preach enough about. We have to make sure we're moving our bodies, because it's essential to necessarily get that your body moving and get the energy flowing as well. So that's my take on it. And that's just from a personal experience about where I was and not doing any body movement to where now, like, it's a habit. I work out 7 days a week. It's become a habit for me. And if I don't move, my body knows, like, hey, it's like somebody tapping me on the shoulder. Hey, get up, let's go. So, and I'll let the other guys kind of chime in as well. That's in that
Okay,
space.
and so I'll piggyback on that. I'll say this, like, a lot of times people come to me and say, like, how do I get started, right? And so I'll even say that, like, start walking, right? Because sometimes a lot of us, we think that we have issues in our bodies that we don't necessarily have. It just comes from being sedentary. You're sitting down all the time. Of course, you're stiff. Of course, your arthritis is acting up. And so I'll tell people that too, like, okay, if you have arthritis, your body is telling you it wants to be still, right? But the more you're still, the more stiff you get. And I tell them, like, it's going to get worse probably before it gets better. But that is telling you that your body is doing something that it's not used to. You have to get moving. You have to get your blood flowing. Getting outside sometimes is what you need, soaking up the sun and everything like that. And so I think a lot of times it will help us to really be able to tune into our bodies to see if something is actually wrong or is it from our lifestyle. And so that's why movement is also very important. And I do, like you said, I do my best thinking when I'm in the gym. When my mind is racing, I go to the gym and I come out of there and I gain clarity from it. And so I think a lot of people think it's all about aesthetics, but it's not. It's really your mental health, your body health, like being able to tune into yourself is one of the most important things that you can do, just to keep yourself going every day and just to be able to think and breathe and feel good in general.
I agree, Sheena. I agree. I'm going to be honest, for me, it ain't even about the look or nothing like that. It is literally about my mental health and keeping me grounded and in a good solid space, so I'm able to maneuver. Sometimes too, even being able, you start working out, it's some things you want to get accomplished, and you, for whatever, it's some blocks that you have, start working out. I can guarantee you it'll start flowing and your body will get into that rhythm, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that idea came through, this idea, and it's because you're getting your body moving. So yeah, I agree. It's not even about all of this. It's about that mental space that keeps me in alignment. That's important for me.
Yeah, because your mind is a part of your body, right? So mindful breathing has to be incorporated in any type of movement when you're talking about the body. Like, it's not going to go if your mind is not there. If your breathing is off, you're not going to last in a workout. It's just not going to happen. So the best thing that I could say to do is, before you do anything, spend a couple minutes just breathing, just getting your mind right, getting your mind clear. That goes over so many people's heads, because they are thinking about the aesthetics, they're thinking about the physical fitness, they're thinking about the scale. You and somebody else start working out at the same time, they've already lost this much, you gain 3 pounds. It can be very discouraging. But if you start with a positive mindset, you start with breathing, you start with focusing and getting a mental plan ready for your movement of your body, that physical fitness, it goes a long way.
Yeah, and then even too, like going back to what we were talking about, going outside. If we all go get your blood work done, most African American people are vitamin D deficient, and so because of that, you're gonna feel tired. You're gonna feel brain fog. So just simply going out and getting some sun. Most doctors who notice that you're vitamin D deficient, they'll tell you go take a vitamin D supplement. So there's that. But then also too, when we look at just health, right? The number one killer in the world is actually like heart problems, cardiovascular. So how is that linked to mental health? Well, the fact is, yeah, mental health and physical health, they're not interchangeable. They're one and the same. So when we think about your cardiovascular system, well, when it comes to your mental health, right? When you go out and you work out, your body is releasing serotonin, it's releasing dopamine. Those are the good chemicals that we need within our body. But when you're stressed, your body, it has excess levels of cortisol. And when you have excess levels of cortisol in your system, well, now you see your body, kind of reacting to, because we don't want extra levels of cortisol. And so that's why we see individuals, when they say stress kills, it's exactly that. Because again, when those cortisol levels are, up, we start seeing it within the body. And so if your body cannot function because your mental health is in shambles, well, of course you're going to see, both ways, both physically and mentally, that you're not feeling the best. So again, they're one and the same. But I think too, just keeping that in mind, that yes, when you work out, again, it's not about the aesthetics, it's not about anything. It's just, making sure that you're releasing more of those good chemicals within your brain and in your body, and less of the bad ones. Because again, the more that you stress, the more cortisol that's being, let out. And now we're seeing, people who have heart problems, because now you're putting more pressure on your heart. For me personally, many years ago, I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. And I'm like, what is that? And they were like, oh, well, it's because your cortisol levels are spiked. And I'm like, dang, so you telling me I got this because I've been stressed out? Right? And so I'm like, what do you do? And they're like, well, you just got to figure out ways to, better regulate. And I'm like, okay, cool, right? But again, it just shows just how, stress and not necessarily getting active physically can take a toll on your body physically.
I agree.
I totally agree with a lot of what's been said so far. So one of the things that we do at Team Alter Ego is we talk about the health, we talk about the mental side of the house, and then we even dive even deeper to talk about the hormonal side of the house, because we don't really see hormones. It gets swept under the rug or not even acknowledged. But our hormones control everything within our body. I'm under the belief that our hormones impact us way more than a calorie can. And I can go into detail about that a little bit later. But the whole premise of it is when you do work out, you are releasing these hormones. Hormones in the body are chemical messages. And it starts from the brain, it goes out to whatever organ is going to be receiving that message. So if there's a message that goes towards your thyroid is there to regulate, say, the temperature of your body. That's one of the functions of the thyroid. So if there's a hormone that comes out and it's supposed to go to the thyroid, but it's not getting to the thyroid for whatever reason, there could be blockages that's causing the amount of the hormone to be low. So it's not really making it there enough to be considered like a phone call. Then it's not going to work. And now your thyroid is not going to get the message to say, hey, we need you to upregulate heat. We need you to downregulate heat. So now you either got hyper, meaning it's doing too much, or you got hypo, meaning it's not doing enough. So these things like this, they can be ruled more effective or less effective through your movement. The movement's going to help move blood through your system, get rid of some of those blockages, and then cause the hormone to be able to travel through your system and find where it needs to go. So yeah, there's a lot of things that come into play. And like the question that I have for a lot of you all is, do we know what symptoms are? Right? A symptom is nothing more than a warning given off by our body. So if you start coughing all of a sudden, that's not saying that you catching a cold. That's your body saying like, hey, there's something within this airway that we don't agree with, and we're trying to get it out. So I'm gonna send you the symptom of coughing to get it out of that airway. Or say, for instance, your nose starts running. It's the same thing. Something in here is triggering a response from the body. The body doesn't want it inside, so it's sending that signal to make mucus run from your nose, and now you're sneezing now, and now your nose is running. So we have to be able to pay attention to the symptoms that we're getting, because that is a message from our body to say like, hey, something's going on here. We don't like it. So look at that ache in your knee. Look at the fat that we've developed. And this is something that I recently put out there on social media. Like for those who are over the weight that they like to be, it's not your fault. Like you putting on fat is not your fault. That's a symptom of something else happening within your body. So whether or not you're eating hella carbs and those carbs are coming into the system, they do something to you. And a lot of people don't know this, but that causes a hormone in your body called insulin to spike up. When insulin is out there and it's super high, the only thing insulin wants to do is stuff the glucose, the sugar that's in your blood, stuff it away. It doesn't care where it's stuffed at. So it's either going to stuff it in the muscles, it's going to stuff it in your liver, it can even stuff it around your other organs. This is how you get like fatty organs. And then the other place that we have an abundant supply of is fat stores. Now, the fat stores, we keep a constant supply of those. However, the energy that we put into those fat stores determine the amount of fat that you display on the outside. Now, some of us might think like, hey, being fat might not be a good thing, but it's actually a wonderful thing, because that shows you that your body's trying to take care of you. And instead of putting that fat, the not fat, but the energy, the excess energy that you've ingested around those organs, which could lead to death or other diseases, is now putting them into this storage space that's a better place for it. So we got to think about these things whenever we're moving forward and whenever we're just going through our life. Like, hey, what is my body trying to tell me, and how can I mitigate or conquer it?
So often though we ignore that. So and we have to be mindful that there are some symptoms that you're not going to pick up, like overeating.
Yep.
Some of it is maybe you sleeping too much, you're a little
Yep.
too tired, or you're overworking. You're not taking time for yourself. And to piggyback off what Nari previously said, self-maintenance and self-care are not the same.
Nope.
They're not. But if I know that, I got a big work project and I'm more anxious, and that's causing me to eat a little bit more because that helps me feel better. That helps curb some of that nervousness down. Or I'm really depressed, and how that's manifesting is me sleeping more than normal and still waking up tired. Ding, ding, ding. Body's trying to tell you something.
Yep.
So you have to be mindful that it's not always a cough or like a physical symptom. Sometimes it's mental symptoms that you have to be aware of, and that taking care of yourself helps you be more in tune to, okay, I'm yelling, or I'm sleeping more, or I'm not eating as much as I used to, or did I eat today, or all those other things have to be incorporated too, for your physical health as well.
Right. You had anything, Terrence, you want to add to it?
No, everything you're saying is that all you guys saying is definitely good. And you're right, having that movement for somebody like me. When I was done playing ball in the NFL, I saw the difference because I wasn't playing no more. I wasn't moving, and I saw when it came to my excitement, my personality, and I saw that difference of how me playing sports. Because again, in school, I used to get bullied in school, so I know that if I didn't have that movement in sports to help, like you said, get those dopamine, get those things to balance of it, then yes, I definitely could have probably been more like Nori of having, you know, those suicide thoughts even more. But I know that football really helped and saved me from me not knowing that, because I was able to get those good natural, you know, hormonal endorphins that make me feel good to balance me out. So absolutely.
Okay, we have a question for Sheena. As a mom, what advice would you give to the mom that can't make it to the gym? What can they do in the home?
Okay, so again, like I said, a lot of times people kind of get stuck on that. Well, I need to be in the gym kind of thing, right? And so that's why I say, like, you can walk, right? You can walk. You can count your steps while you're doing laundry. You can get your kids in the living room and turn on YouTube, and you guys could do a workout together. I know my kids really enjoy that. It's a lot of things that you can do outside of just the gym. If you have the money, you can go purchase a couple of 5-pound, 10-pound weights, and then you can start there. You don't have to make this big effort at first. You just start with a little bit at a time. If you just start with parking your car farther away from things and walking, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, just getting your body in a pattern of moving, setting aside 15 minutes on your lunch break to go for a walk or to stand at your desk and take your weights with you, you know, and do a little bit here and there ever so often. Count every hour. I'm going to do something for 5 minutes. Just getting your body used to moving, getting it in your mind and making it a habit that I have to move a little bit every day. It doesn't have to look like 2 hours in the gym. It can look like 15 minutes in my living room, just standing up walking, or going on a beautiful day and walking, or taking my kids out to the garage and doing some jumping jacks. Just getting your body in the habit of moving in the time that you do have. And when you're scrolling on Facebook, stand up and start walking. You know what I mean? Anything like that. So that's what I would say. Don't always think it has to be this big effort all the time. Just get your body used to moving, get yourself and your mind in tune with it. And then I believe it gets easier and easier. And then you start to find that time and you start to crave it. And then that will keep you on track as well.
See, that's why I think. Oh, go ahead, Nori. I got excited about what you were saying.
No, I was getting ready to say, I just finished reading Atomic Habits, and that is one of the biggest things. That book is phenomenal. So anybody that really Atomic Habits was a good one. And when I started thinking about it and dissecting, I'm like, no, I've gotten into a habit now where my body is used to working out. And if I don't, my body has gotten used to doing the yoga. And when I haven't, I realize I'm like, oh, dang, I did create that habit. And now it is a part of my daily routine. So I agree, Sheena, with the habits. And I started small. I would just go out for just 30 minutes, you know, just to kind of walk. And the next thing you know, now I'm like, okay, well, how can I extend that? So yeah, we're going to get into the strength training piece because I ain't gotten there just yet, but I know y'all will answer for us. That's my next journey in regards to getting myself to. I agree, a little bit counts, and it did. It started adding up every day, just starting small. So Terrence, go ahead. I think you had something.
No, I was just saying, like, that's why, like, I'll say the best thing she do is a lady who asks is one, like, hire Sheena, because, like, I believe again it's lack of clarity, because it's like, oh, girl, I didn't even think of that, right? And that makes me think of what else you're not thinking of that could make it easier for you. Because when you got kids, I have this, I have that, I have a husband, and I have work, and having somebody like, girl, let me tell you what to do, boom, 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 like, cool, and like that takes so much bandwidth out of yourself. So that's why, like, I just got excited about that. I'm like, I'm sure she probably having questions about nutrition. How do I do when I'm busy? And she didn't like boom, 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 boom. Oh, girl, I think about that. Exactly. That's what I'm here for. Because I have so many other people just like you I've been working with, and I have the answers. So basically, it's like, get Sheena, because she's going to be the painkiller where she remove the pain, and then now you're able to have more joy, you know, with your whole process of getting healthy. So get Sheena on your team. That's what you want to do.
I second that. Come to me. I can help you. Yes.
Yeah. And then another thing that I would add to that is, like, play games with your kids. Like, just being active with your kids is going to get you into a world of health, because they're going to demand it. One thing that I have my wife do, because I coach my wife, and we have 3 boys. So sometimes we'll play a game with them where we'll be running around the house playing tag, things like that. Or, like, one game that came to mind, like, we put one on one side of the carpet, one on the other, and then we just pick one up, take them over, put them down. Pick the other one up, take them over, put them down. They're going to have a wonderful time. But at the same time, you're getting a workout in, and you don't call it a workout. You just call it having fun. And they're going to have fun. And that's the thing that I find to be best, is if I can get you to do a workout without you even thinking or knowing that it is a workout, dang,
Then
we
you'll come
win.
back to it.
Yep, break that agreement in your mind that it's a chore, that it's going to be
Yep.
hard, that you
Right.
don't have time, that it's this or that. Break that agreement and start a new one. Since we book dropping the 4 agreements,
Ooh, I love that book, girl. That's my book.
I literally read it a few times a year
I do
just
too.
because it's that for that.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
because the agreements that we have, that we are taught, that we tell ourselves, they're not laws. We
Yeah.
can change them at any time. It don't take
Right.
no vote, no election, no ballot, no nothing. I can say this is no longer serving me. I'm gonna break this agreement. I'm gonna formulate a new one, and that's what it is at
Mhm.
any time. So we have to break the agreement that says I can't do this physical fitness thing because it's too hard, because I don't have time, because I'm too busy being mom and wife and doctor and lawyer and nurse and all of the things that we are all the time. Because Black people, we don't just get to be one thing. So that's
Yeah.
And I'll also piggyback on that as well. My kids know, and sometimes I take them to the gym with me. That is my time. You get me all day, every day, but when I am here, this is my time. And so you have to also be purposeful and intentional about it, because it's so easy to come up with an excuse. Oh, my kid is hungry. Make them a snack. And then, before you work out and get in there and do it, because it's so easy to find reasons not to do it. So you have to be purposeful and intentional about it as well. People around you need to know, and that needs to be a boundary that you need to stick to. Like, during this time, or when you see mommy doing this, give me a minute and I'll be with you,
three P's.
shortly.
Three
Yeah,
P's. Something every day that's personal, just for you. Something for your purpose. Something for your passion. That's it.
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah.
If the personal though don't get done, we don't do them other things. That's what keeps it in line. That's my own personal checks and balances, because I spend too much time doing stuff literally for everybody else. And what happens? You
Yep.
get lower and
Yep.
lower and lower on the totem pole. No, I got to get mine off the top, because I already know what my day is looking like. I'm
Yeah, you
gotta
got to
be
fill
mom.
your
I
cup.
gotta be
Yep.
this. So I have to get mine off the top, or none of that other stuff gets to get done. And that way I don't build resentment. I don't feel guilty. I don't start hating the people that I love because I'm not taking care of myself. I might be maintaining, getting my hair and nails done, whatever, but I'm not taking care of myself. And we have to think about that differently. We got to break that agreement.
Yeah. And since we dropping gems, so there's this app called Libby, Libby. If you have a membership to a local library, you can use your library card to get access to audiobooks and digital versions of books. So you can listen to it on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer. You're good to go.
Oh, that's a good one, because I got audibles on my I get into a lot of audibles on my phone. So yeah, no, that's a
Yeah,
good one. Okay,
totally free.
okay,
It's
good.
free 99.
All
So
right,
take
that's even
advantage
better.
of it.
Listen. All right, y'all. So what are some health benefits of certain types of movement or exercise for African American individuals, such as cardio fitness, strength training, or flexibility? So I'm gonna let our experts answer this one, because I need to know more about the strength training. So I'm gonna let y'all
Okay,
do
well, a benefit to strength training is bone density for one. So when you're up there 60, 70 years old and you fall, you don't necessarily break your hip. You don't get osteoporosis and all those other kind of things. It helps you build muscle. And you need that, because that's what helps you to burn fat as well when you're at rest, So muscle is pretty much probably going to be your best friend on that note. So you're not always constantly having to be doing something. It's working for you when you're not even working. Cardiovascular, I mean, I hear a lot, and this is like a pet peeve of mine, all over social media. You don't need cardio to lose weight. No, you don't. But your heart is a muscle too. And you don't want to die. You don't want that thing to stop on you prematurely. So please, women especially, yes, we want to work those glutes, but please work your heart too, okay? Because that is my pet peeve. I do not want to hear that. Work your heart too. You need that thing. Without that, there is nothing else. Okay, and that's my tangent. So go ahead.
Yeah, to veggie back off that, I think with social media, when it comes to cardio, they look at running and ellipticals as just
Yeah,
the
that's it.
only forms of cardio out there, and that's not the case. Anything that gets your heart elevated, that's going to be considered cardio. All right. Now, it has to be elevated to a certain point, And then that way you get to see the benefits of that. But that strength training, one thing that I like to do with my folks is I'll get you engaged in some form of strength training, but that downtime, that rest time in between the sets, the different times you're doing the workout, we're gonna throw something in there. Marching band needs. I need you to act like you part of who is it? The head conductor of a marching band
The
that
drum
be having
major.
those knees spiking up. Yeah, the drum major. Like, yo, them knees be high as they foreheads. Like they be getting it. I'm
Hey,
like,
she
so,
did take me back to like high school when I was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, we gonna do some of those in between. We might do some jumping jacks. We might do some rapid fire push ups, something just to get that heart rate up. Because when it comes down, that's when I'm gonna get you back in there. And the way that we help to enhance your results is going to be combining those two. So no, you don't have to go wait to the end to do your treadmill work or your stairmaster work and go run it. You don't have to do all that because I infuse it with your workout already. So with that, we'll see faster results. The other thing that you'll see as a byproduct of this is hormonal regulation. So now, say you eat breakfast in the morning, depending on what you eat, will cause that insulin to go up. So now your body's in a state where the insulin is high. So if you're doing some type of strength training, that's going to help to bring it lower. It's going to help to shuttle the glucose that the insulin is responding to into your muscle cells. So that's going to be good because now that's going to puff up that muscle. And then when it's time to help recover, and for a lot of y'all, I know you say abs are made in the kitchen. It's not. No muscle at all is made in the kitchen. It's made when you are resting and when you're sleeping. That's the only time muscle is created. So in the gym, we're going to tear it down. In the kitchen, we're going to replenish the resources that your body needs. And then when we go to sleep, that's going to repair and rebuild those muscles. So we take advantage of all that, game over. Like we win. And then as far as the muscle comes, what Sheena was saying, another great benefit of that is when you get the more muscle you have, is going to help you further along in life. Muscle is one of those things that determines how long you live because, and there's been mad research studies to confirm that, but the more muscle you lose, and as we get older, we tend to lose muscle if we're not using it. But the more we use it, the more we maintain it. And then in most cases, we can develop more of it. So you'll see those pains that your grandmama used to get, you'll see that go away because you are engaging in some type of physical activity. And don't be afraid to use bands. Bands are your best friends. Yes, they'll make you dance, but they'll also make you
I was singing it in my head. And also, abs
See
may
how we
not
all
be
the
made in
same?
the kitchen, but the ability to see them is done in the
yes,
kitchen.
yeah. So
So
food will either conceal or reveal what you've been working
what
on.
you're doing, yeah.
So keep that in mind when you go to eat the next meal that you have. Hey, is this going to help me or is it going to hold me back? Because I'm trying to be right for the summer. Summer's coming, so I need y'all to step it up because we need some eye candy out there, both on the male side and female side. All right, the same thing goes on in the gym. Like a lot of people, like they'll go there, they'll use that as motivation. Like, oh man, that's my gym crush right there. I got to get right. Cool. Well, do what you need to do, not only in the gym, but do it on the outside too. Eat to reveal the work of art, the masterpiece that you've been working on.
Yeah, see, I'm not trying to be nobody's eye candy, but I just when I'm
Yeah,
done waving, I want my arm to know that
To be
I'm
done too.
yeah,
this right here, down here.
yeah.
They gone. They're not here anymore. Why are you still waving?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I love
And
that.
honestly, I just stay in shape because sometimes my kids like to try me and say, "Mom, you want to race in
Yes,
the street?" And so I got to let them know, who the big boss is. So,
right.
Yeah, I want to add something to that, what you're saying. Like, I know for me, my audience, I know my guys, all the science stuff, they cool, cute. But for me, I'm like, all the boldness is cute. But for me, I wanted to remove my insecurities because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, my arms, I hate it. So I hate it when people touch my arms or my stomach or things like that. So for me, I know that how I'll see myself is how I treat myself. So I knew that for me, like T, what insecurities that you can change, control. Some things I can't that God made or have us to be till we can't. So for me, it was that. And the second thing I want to touch on that, because that's the thing that gets me like, oh, let's get right for the summer. I believe health and wealth is so the same. And who wants to wait till summer to get money? Right? I got right. So it's the same mindset to me. It's like, oh, summer coming, so let me get money. No, you want money all the time. So then why we don't want to be fit all the time? Right.
Yeah.
But that's those agreements that you said, and that's the culture that we have, is that I have to wait for a time but it goes back to perfect, or it goes back to not looking bad, because the reason why I want to get in shape, because I got a cruise, so I don't want to look bad in front of them. I got my birthday, so I don't want to look bad when I turn 50. So I believe it goes back to that stigma that we're so more worried about status or how we look for others compared to, like you said, what's our purpose and what's personal to us, and what's the thing that's going to make us feel good about ourselves. But if we still more worried about other people, then again, now we're still doing with the little kid, is that I'm doing it to make other people happy or other people approve us. And that's the shift that I had to make through my time. It's like, hell no, what makes me happy? What makes me feel good, look good? But also the standard that, hey, I want to look good for my wife. Right? For those are husbands, come here, fathers, come here, husbands. So it's like, no, like, what's the standard you have? You say you want the best for your wife, then why don't got the best for you? Let me stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's BS. I told you I get passionate over here, right? And it's like, what's the standard you have? And if you don't have those standards, then what other areas you not have the standards? And that's why you're not happy, you're not there. And that's what I had to do, was raise the standards in my life, and also raise my integrity level, and say, well, I'm not keeping my commitments, but I get mad when my kids don't keep their commitments for homework, but I don't keep my commitments for my workout. And I think, again, it's BS. And that's the next level, I say, of why you want to really work on yourself, because that's what's going to help you long term of how you take care of yourself. All right, I'm done.
Love it.
I agree. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. This has been a huge one for me too. Just it's become a habit, right? What I'm consuming, I think sometimes we don't realize either as a society that the food that we're consuming is impacting our mental health, not only our physical health, but our mental health too. I can see a shift drastically when I'm eating stuff I know I'm supposed to be eating. I'm like, oh Lord, wait a minute, what is this? And I realized, like, okay, girl, that self-discovery over this last 2 years, I've been able to discover myself and who I was. I've been able to discover like what my body needs and what my body don't need. Some people, they can consume all of that extra stuff, right, and still be okay. I personally cannot. I started noticing when I consume gluten, absolutely not. For sure, the sugar, absolutely not. And another thing too that I identify is also I love meat, but my body is just not jumping and jiving with meat. So I realized in my personal self-discovery, and I think that's something else that I teach my clients, is self-discovery, and that's learning who you are and what you need. Because again, sometimes we're looking for other people outside of us, but that's not your body. That's you. You got your own body, right? And your body is built the way it's supposed to be built. So finding what works for you. So getting right into nutrition, we're just gonna take a few questions. So what are some practical tips or recommendations you would give to African-American individuals who are looking to improve their nutrition, but face barriers such as time constraints or limited cooking skills? Now I'm gonna let y'all respond. I already got my mind what I want to say, but I'm gonna keep it chill. I personally just feel like you got to just do it.
Or who live in a food desert. Let's not forget that, because a lot of times in the African American community, all we stuck with is Family Dollar in the gas station.
I agree. But
I would also say meal prepping. Yeah. And something I hear a lot too, people say, well, I don't have the money to eat that. But I'm like, last I checked, McDonald's and all that wasn't that cheap either, but people still make the time and they have the money then to get it and stuff like that. And a lot of times people will eat out and not realize that they're spending a whole lot of money doing that too. And then they go in the store and they think that the only thing that is nutritious is salad or things of that nature. There are ways around these things that you can do. First off, meal prepping will save you a whole lot of time. So doing this ahead of time, so you're not going to McDonald's because you're starving. And something else I would say too, a lot of people, something I want to say, people say they are emotional eaters, right? But emotions are everything. So when you're happy, sad, anxious, depressed, like you're not an emotional eater. You're just not used to being mindful about what you put into your body. Right? You're not used to being mindful about what you're eating. If I ask you what you ate today, you're going to leave out that handful of fries or those couple of chips that you got. And then you're going to say, well, I eat great, right? do you, or do you eat great when you're thinking about it, right? So it's not necessary that you're an emotional eater. You're just not used to being mindful about what you're eating.
Yeah,
And
I
so
can't blame emotions on none of this. I just like to eat. I'm gonna eat if I'm happy or sad or
exactly,
mad or
I
depressed.
just like to eat.
Just quit blaming the emotions. It's just
Yeah.
you like to eat. Just let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Exactly. And culture comes into that a lot too, because all of our celebrations for the most part are what food is the centerpiece. And so we have to be mindful about that. What are you doing? Yes, you might be used to eating like this all the time, but can we put a healthy option in there? Can we, exchange this for some vegetables, some fruit? Can we learn how to cook things that aren't like smothered in butter and things of that nature? Like, you have to also learn what calories are, right? You have to read those ingredient labels. You have to read those nutrition facts. You have to know. There was one point when I didn't know anything, I knew enough to, if I wanted chips, I would buy a bag of chips and I would literally sit there and count out a serving. So I knew how much I was eating. And if I went back for another serving, I had to. So I could tell myself. And so you have to just, again, be intentional. And also, like you said, just do it. And that comes with being intentional and mindful about it. I know I can't cook, but everybody can saute something. You can put something in the oven. And 90% of everyone has an air fryer, right? So removing the excuses, I think, will help a lot of us as well. It's not necessarily your time, it's time management.
I agree.
And yes.
And to add to that too, Sheena, one thing that I kind of identified as well, I have a certification in mindful eating. And it is something that they teach us, right, is the emotional component, but you're learning how to program to gravitate more towards some more healthier options. But again, in my self-discovery journey, I was able to pinpoint when my connection with food became really, really bad. And what ultimately happened, I pinpointed, it was an inner child wound. It was necessarily, I remember it was elementary school, and my great grandmother, she was the one that she was raising me at that time, right? And it was some chaos between family, whatever. And I was taken from my great grandmother. Well, what happened, she would sneak to the school after school to see me because they wouldn't allow her to see me, right? And in that, and this is me being vulnerable, and I'm telling you, sometimes we don't understand the connection to food and when it becomes a bad habit. In that, what would happen, she would sneak to school after school to see me, and we would have about 10-15 minutes, but she would always bring me food. She would bring me like fried chicken, she would bring me the cookies, and she would bring me all of those things. And then I realized, I fast forward, okay, that's when the bad relationship with food started. And that's one thing that I like to be able to work with my clients on, being able to pinpoint when and where did it happen, so we can reprogram that thought pattern, so you can know, like, hey, no, you did start emotional eating because you didn't realize at the tender age of being in the 3rd and 4th grade, those were emotions, and she was bringing you that food, and you're sitting there and we have 10-15 minutes, so I gotta gobble all this stuff down so I could get back to where I have to go in the afternoon. And that's where it started. So again, self-discovery and self-awareness has taught me to be able to pinpoint those things in my life and those triggers, so I can look at them now at 40 to say, this is what happened, and this is how we change this to the little Tanya that's within. This is how we fix this going forward. So I think, again, the self-discovery, it's a huge one, and it really, really helps us in so many different ways. So that was just my little tangent.
Yes, you have to be able to see yourself to change yourself.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I definitely agree with all you're saying. And like I said, you got to not just want to do it, but you have to, like you said, self-discovery. So give an example, right? So the NFL, they're giving vets so much money to get a doctor and blah, 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 right? So yesterday, my wife like, did you call, for them yet? And I was like, no, I had busy, this, that. And she's like, if you want to do it, you could do it. And when I went to sit down, I sat with myself, because again, I have a little process I go through. And I said, T, what's the goal behind that? Why didn't want to do it? The truth is, I hate the whole process, patience of calling, do all this stuff, boom, boom, boom. So the story that I have in my mind of how the experience is going to be, and of course, our mind is going to push away from pain, go to pleasure. And I know that for me, I have to now change the story or challenge the story and look at what is the bottom that makes me not want to do it. And now I have to have an action plan to go forward, or just how can I remove any pain that I have. So I think for cooking, for me, I was a jock. Okay, so when it's about cooking, listen, my cooking was hot dogs, cereal, Hot Pockets, Okay, I'm a jock, so being a football player, they took care of all our food all the time. So when my mom was cooking, I was at practice, so I didn't know how to cook. So I really had to start from level one. So I think that when it comes to make it easier or better for meal prep, my experience, I believe your tools is so important, right? So having the right type tools makes it easier. So me having a griddle makes it easy, so I can put a whole bunch of different foods to work faster. I believe that if you use it like a restaurant, that's how I operate mine. Is how can I be like a restaurant where I know that, hey, I'm making sure I'm not running out of inventory, so I'm not panicking going that way. Number two, I'm looking at the tools that makes it fun, at least quicker in the process. So I'm not gonna have this one pot like I did when I first started, and now I got 8 burgers. I got one little pot and taking forever, and that makes you feel like ill, right? And then also I believe is how can you make it to where you're changing things up, and that's one thing I had to learn. I mean, chicken's gonna be chicken, right? Rice is gonna be rice. It's gonna be the same food, but just like a shirt and pants and tie, what I learned is how can I switch it up and make it things to be different and add a different season sauces to where I'm like, I'm excited this week. Oh, I got a new sauce from there. I can't wait to try that. And I believe just like a relationship, if you have the same how you do intimacy, come here, lay down here, let's do that. It gets boring. So you have to rekindle it. And I believe that's what I had to learn to lose 100 pounds. You're going to get bored eating the same thing. So I say, Terrence, you're going to have to really be creative and not just go through the motion with this, but actually look at it how have a mindset. I want to get better. And I'm going to end with this. And I believe, this is my belief, that we don't go into fitness and saying I want to be good at it. We just jump in it. And until you say I want to be good in it, then now it's going to shift your attitude towards it. But just like football, are you just on it to be on a field, or are you there to be great? And it's a different attitude. So you got to ask yourself, am I really stepping on this field to be healthier, to be good, or am I doing it because this is like a punishment that I'm saying I'm supposed to do? And you're never going to have a winning attitude with that type of mentality. All right, I'm done.
And I think that's where the discipline comes in, because at the end of the day, we all know what it is we're supposed to be doing. But the fact is that when motivation runs out, because it will, right? You have to have
Always.
and to be, to keep going. And like they say, change your relationship with food. Like that's really what it is. And I think that's so important, because a lot of us, we have unhealthy relationships with food. So once we tailor that and we're able to have a healthier relationship with food and get excited, like they said, about, oh, I want to try this new sauce. Oh, I want to try this new recipe. I think that helps to continue the motivation and even the discipline when it gets hard, because it will. Like if you eat anything, I love eating, right? But I had to be intentional and be disciplined to, not eat, every time I go, because I'm a foodie. So I like going to different restaurants and I will splurge on whatever it is, right? Because I'm just like, I'm treating myself, right? But I can't do that because I saw what it was doing. I started gaining weight. So now, I'm a little bit more mindful. So when I go out to these restaurants, I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat, but I'm going to do it, while being mindful about what I am taking into my body. And so, again, it's that discipline. It's like a muscle. The more you work it, the more you'll see it strengthen. So you just have to strengthen that discipline muscle with your food, with your mental health, just overall.
Can we hit that ugly word of discipline, because it's so ugly for people? Because I just want to say that, because I know that a trigger word, when I hear discipline, I think of like bad, punishment, hard. So I just want to help somebody out there that's listening to where, for me, that really helped me is discipline just mean a practice. So meaning, if you just shift that word, so meaning that I had to practice going to the gym when I didn't feel like it. I had to practice going to meal prep when I didn't feel like it. I got to practice. So if I just want to help somebody that's like discipline, let's shift that. Just like football, I had to keep practicing and going to fail. So I think that you got to practice doing things when you didn't feel like it. And I just want to encourage you to practice to do that. So shift that discipline word, if that hit you like it did for me, to just practice and just get on the field, get in the gym, get in the kitchen, and just keep practicing.
Yeah.
And
then something. Oh, well, you go ahead.
I say another thing that I would add into there is, if cooking's not your strong suit, get with somebody who enjoys cooking. So give them some money for groceries. You buy the groceries, you let them know the things that you would like to eat, and then work out a deal with them to where they'll make it for you. And that way, you don't have to go through the struggle of, oh man, now I gotta get in here and get in this kitchen and cook this stuff. I don't really know how to cook. I done burnt my water that I was trying to boil.
That burnt the water.
That was me. That was me.
The hot dog.
Yeah, it can be super simple, but you just got to look at yourself and be like, hey, I'm not really good at this. Yes, I do want to get good at it, but I don't want to mess up what I got going on. So let me reach out to my buddy over here, and he or she loves cooking, and they're cooking all the time. I see their food all the time. I'm like, yo, you think you can do this for me? Help me out. More than likely, they're going to say yes. But you have to be willing to put yourself out there to let them know, like, hey, I really want to work in this direction and go from there. Because once we're able to get past the ultra processed foods like a bag of chips, sometimes now before I go on with that, with chips, yes, they are good. Definitely have them every now and then. But if they're doing something that is counter to where it is that you're trying to go, you got to make the decision to let it go, or reduce it to a point where it's not going to impact you as much. I definitely stopped eating chips once I found out that it takes like 3 or 4 potatoes just to make a bag of chips. I'm not about to sit and eat 3 or 4 potatoes in one sitting. Yes, I could force it, but once I found that out, I was like, yo, yeah, I'm not really trying to be doing all that. And it's based off of what goes into the making of those chips that allow us to eat so much of it without even thinking about it. So yeah, just get with someone who has the ability to do something that you find hard, and then just work out that deal. That'll definitely help out.
I agree. Shannon, you had something you wanted to say before I go to the next one?
Oh, I think I was just going to touch on because I heard Terrence say something about punishment, and I know a lot of people use food as not only a reward but also as a punishment as well. And I think we have to like remove that. Food is fuel, right? And so even in that, yes, you're going to want to like eat some things that aren't necessarily healthy, and if that's what you want, then eat it. But again, be mindful of what you're putting into your body and how much of it you're doing. Because if you restrain yourself, if you like keep yourself from all the things that you like, then eventually you're going to fall off because it's going to feel like punishment. It's going to feel painful. You're going to go back to what you know, because I can't have anything if I want to eat right. So if it's something you want, have it, but just be aware. Know what you're putting in there. Know what the calorie makeup of it is. Know the macronutrient makeup of it. Know what's in it. Right. And so that might deter you sometimes, because sometimes you read the ingredient list, you're like, no. And so that's what I would just say. Stop using it to punish yourself. It's not a punishment. It's not a treat. It's fuel. But you should enjoy it sometimes. And if there's something that you enjoy, you don't have to necessarily get rid of it altogether unless it is causing you health issues. Obviously, you should. But yeah, that's all I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Before we go on to veggie back off of that, because I definitely love it. There is a disconnect with a lot of people that I've noticed with the terminology. So when you look at the back of a package, you see that nutrition label. That's going to give you information about the food that you're about to eat. But if you don't understand what that is, then you're at a disadvantage already. So I'll give you a quick breakdown real quick. A calorie, a measurement of energy contained within that food. You have fat, you have protein, you have carbohydrates. These are your big nutrients that help your body to either get energy or help build your body out. All right. So you can dive deeper into those, or you can do this wonderful thing like reach out to a coach, like one of us. We can definitely help you and explain these things to you, and you'll be good to go with having that information. And then the other wonderful thing about a nutrition label is going to tell you the portion size or serving size. Now, just because it has these numbers on this label doesn't mean that is all that's in it. I've had people come to me and it's like, well, this says it only has 150 calories in it, so I can eat this whole pack of Oreos, right? No,
5 servings.
that's not what that means. That says 2 cookies for every serving, and then that for each of those 2 cookies, this is what's in it. This is what you can expect to be in it. So you have to be able to understand these things in order to make your future as best as possible.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it takes us to I'm going to do one more question. So it's, what are the potential health risks of consuming processed food, sugary beverages, and food high in sodium and saturated fat, especially in our African American populations? And I like to always give good examples. I remember when I was consuming a lot of processed foods, and even sometimes if I'm like, oh, well, I just kind of want to have a soda or something like that, I can even tell my emotions are impacted. And that is just because I've become very, very, very in tune with myself doing this self-discovery journey. If I'm eating this stuff like instantly, y'all, I could tell my mental is kind of shifting a little bit. And it makes me question, in all honesty, like, what are they really putting in a lot of this food? We don't question any of it. We just consume it and we just eat it. I have gotten a lot better with reading the labels. Even last night when I went to the store, I'm like, child, no, you should have saw me. I bet the people behind me was like, well, shit, move out the darn way. But I was like, no, I'm trying to read the ingredients. And I agree that, like, when I consume the processed foods, I'm moving a lot slower. My thinking is not as sharp. That is what typically and how it should be flowing. And again, God forbid, even I can tell a difference within my body, like the bloating start getting really bad. And it's like, wait a minute now. And it's all within the food that we are consuming. So y'all want to give us some health, Chris? Y'all.
Oh yeah. So I love diving into food and how our body responds to it. So everything that we eat sends a message within our body. This is called a hormonal response. So, like I was saying earlier, when it comes to certain carbs, you got fast moving carbs, you got slow moving carbs. Depending on when they get into our bloodstream, this is going to cause certain hormones to be triggered. Now, if in the case of, say, insulin is triggered as a response to how much carbs you're taking in. Well, insulin is triggered by all three of the macronutrients, the carbs, the fat, and the protein. Carbs is going to spike your insulin the most. Next after that is going to be the protein. Then after that is going to be the fat. However, when insulin is spiked, it's going to shut off the process of your body to burn any fat. So if your goal is to burn fat and get that out of there, you want to do things that's going to keep that insulin low so that that fat can flow. All right. I got bars today, but but yeah, keep that insulin low. That way the fat will flow, and then you'll see the reduction of the fat stores. So instead of your fat store being this big filled with energy, calories, then it's going to come down as your body allows the energy from fat to come out of there. Now, when it comes to certain additives that they're adding to our food, this has the ability to trick our body into thinking one thing or another. So say, for instance, you eat a can of Pringles. Pringles, they even say it in their slogan, once you pop, you can't stop. That's right, because there's certain chemicals that they add in there that hits the dopamine center of our brain that's responsible for pleasure. And it's like, oh yeah, I feel so good eating these. Let me lick this salt. Let me lick this sugar and everything off of my fingers and keep going. Then next thing you know, you're at the bottom of the can. You're like, come on now. Like, no. And it's designed that way because they want to make more money off of us. If they keep you in there, you're going to be a customer for life because you are chasing that high, just like a drug user. It's not the fact that they are wanting to get high all the time. It's they're chasing a feeling or sensation that is being produced in their brain. So with that, everything that your body is going through is going to be going after this one sensation. So just keep that stuff in mind and then be mindful of everything that you're eating because it's going to tell your body to do one thing or another.
That's good. Well, I know for me, I'm 40, but my body's like 65 from playing football and sports. So I know that if I have a time where I eat trash, listen, I feel it. My elbows, my shoulders, that inflammation comes, and now that makes me now make it harder for me to exercise. Right, my sleep. Even for me, things I struggle with depression, things in the past. So I know when I eat that way, I see myself more and more sluggish. I see myself struggle to, have that excitement and that creativity and things like that. So, but just like you said, being in tune with it or whatnot. But also, listen, I do not want to, dig my grave with a fork and knife. So I want to be able to, when I retire and walk and run around and go travel and not be like, oh, I'm in a cane, I can't move. And now I'm sitting on my retirement. And listen, I ain't worked this hard to be not enjoying, right, my fruits of my labor. So it's just, again, being intentional, but also finding your balance. I think not finding balance, finding what works for you. I'm going to say that. I like that. Finding what works for you.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'll just say, like, when you eat super processed food, you have to also keep in mind that they don't have a lot of nutrients in them, pretty
Fact.
much none. And so
Fact.
that it's really not helping you. And that's why, like you said, you feel more sluggish and things of that nature. You feel more brain fog because your body is literally getting nothing from it, nothing of value anyway. And so that's something that you really need to keep in mind, because is it pleasurable to eat this stuff if you're going to feel like crap for 2 days afterwards? You know what I mean? Like, you want things that are going to literally help your body flourish, and it'll show in everything. Your skin, you'll notice your skin is more dull, like your hair is brittle, all these things like that. And so I think that's what we need to keep in mind too, that yes, the processed foods taste better, but at the same time, you're not getting anything from it. And you can make nutritious foods, taste just as good. And a lot of times these days, the price difference isn't too much. So
Right.
And you
Right.
might with the outer appearance, because I'm gonna tell y'all something. Listen, when I was eating all that processed stuff, y'all, I used to be like, why is my scalp? When I say like that stuff will start even exuding like out of your scalp when you're eating all that processed garbage. And I notice now, since I stick to whole foods, no problems. No problems with my scalp. And it was the food that I was consuming. It was the sugar and stuff like that. So I agree in regards to that. All right, y'all. Well, y'all got anything else y'all want to add?
Oh yeah, I remember back in high school, like I had crazy acne. Like I was the bumpy guy, like from everywhere, and it didn't like I was going to doctors, getting the pills and everything that they were getting. I was basically being tested on without knowing that I was being tested on. But years later, like introspection, I'm like, yo, it turned out to be the Reese cups that I love. Like I would get a 10-pack of Reese cups, and they were like nice size too. And I would crush the whole thing. And then I walk out the room after crushing all 10 of them. My mom be like, "Yo, you been eating Reese's, haven't you?" I'm like, "No. What do you mean?" It's like, you got pimples, boy. You got pimples. It's the responses that's happening. Your body's trying to let you know and get rid of the toxins that's in it. And it's like, yo, no. Like you got to pay attention to that stuff. So it was the same thing for like Reese's, and then same thing for sodas for me. My body, my skin was sending me, my body was sending signals through my skin in the form of pimples to say like, hey, we don't agree with this. Get this out of us and stop taking it. And I haven't had breakouts ever since I figured that out. So just paying attention to what's going on with your body is definitely going to be beneficial.
That's good. I agree. All right, y'all. Well, this has been great. I want to tell each of you, thank you so much. This is Empowered Wellbeing's first Health and Wellness Summit for quarter 1. And I am planning to do these roundtable open discussions. I like to keep things authentic with people so they can relate, right? And not think that, oh God, no, we're very relatable. So I am so thankful for you guys for helping me do this one for the first quarter. Empowered Wellbeing, we have a lot of things that are coming up. I will say, everybody that's watching, please make sure to follow me on social media up under, you can Latanya Sumter or Empowered Wellbeing for sure. You can find us. And we have a lot of great things coming. We're actually planning right now a wellness retreat, collaborating with some of my sisters here from Temple Organization of Black Affairs, and we're excited about that. And we just have a lot of great things and collaborations that we're really working on. So make sure to stay tuned and stay connected to us. Sheena, Kenny, and Terrence, I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. Lanisha and Nara, they already know, child. I ain't. So I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to working with you guys again. Don't forget to send me your links, and I will make sure to send everybody that signed up all of your links so they can connect with you to use your services. And I look forward to working with you guys again. Okay.
Thank you so much for having us.
I appreciate y'all big time.